6 years ago, I told clients of Gym Launch that they should stop making content because they were wasting their time. I was partially right and partially wrong. And in this video, I want to break down the shift that I've had in terms of content marketing and its role within a business, the 5 phases in building a content marketing machine, and how to focus on one of 2 primary objectives with content marketing. And so if you don't know who I am, my name is Alex Hormozi. I own acquisition.com. Portfolio of companies right now does over $150 million a year. I make these videos because I hope that you use this stuff, you make a bunch of money, and then you come and join acquisition.com so we can invest in your business. That's why I do it. Let's rock and roll with the phases of content. I'm gonna walk through the 5 phases, and then I'm gonna talk about which of the objectives you're solving for each of these, and then finally like an at-scale version. All right, phase 1 is you make something and you post it. That's it. You just gotta post something sometime, somewhere. And believe it or not, a lot of you guys haven't even done phase 1, which is why I have to outline it. Number 2 is that you post something consistently. You create a cadence or a calendar around when you post. You find a platform that you like, ideally one that you're probably already using, and you just post again after you posted once. And you say, you know what? This was 7 days apart. If I do this every 7 days, I will now be consistent. For me, I just know that there's 1 day a week that I do all my marketing stuff. What I do on that day changes, but it's always marketing related. So that's what's worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you. The 3rd phase, you post reliably, and you do it on all platforms. That's a massive increase in the amount of volume that you are posting. This is when it transitions in terms of objectives, and I'll get to the objectives in a second. Phase 4 is that you go from posting just even once on every platform on a regular cadence to maximizing how much every platform can take. The short form platforms can take sometimes 5, 10 posts a day, like Twitter or TikTok, Facebook Reels at this moment. Rules change all the time. If you have a newsfeed style where you have an audience that is pushing stuff to, they tend to fatigue faster and they don't want to get overwhelmed with one person. That's usually where you get capped out at 1 or 2 times a day. And so what you have to do is look at all the platforms, figure out what the max amount is that you can publish on a platform, and then all you do is you crank the volume on all of them at the same time. That's phase 4. Most people never even get to phase 4. And then
So real quick, if you want to post to multiple social media platforms at the same time, I use something called repurpose.io. So what you do is you make your content, let's say it's short form, and then you log into all your other accounts. Let's say, for example, you're doing TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels. You post it to TikTok, and it will automatically upload to IG Reels and YouTube Shorts within about 15 minutes of the original post going up on the first platform.
In phase 5, you go from creating for all of those to capturing and creating. For example, if I wanted to have a show where everybody called in and then I could repurpose all that stuff across content, that would be me deliberately creating content in a way across all those channels. But not only creating, but also capturing so that I could further enhance my reach and the amount of volume that I created. And the big rule with volume that I have is that there's no such thing as too long, only too boring. The second rule that I have is quality over quantity, but quantity wins over quality. In order to...
Okay, I might have to watch that again, but that's a goal. Hold on. So quality over quantity, got that. But it was the second part, hold on. But quality and quantity wins over quality. Okay, so, but both wins over quality. So have a lot of quality content going out consistently.
Quality. In order to know what is quality, it usually takes reps to get good. And so you will probably do a lot in the beginning and it will probably suck, and that's okay because it is a requisite for getting good. You start by sucking and then you get better, and then eventually you suck so little you're actually good. The difference between phase 1 and 2 and phase 3, 4, 5 is the objective. If you're doing phase 3, 4, 5, the objective is to generate new customers from content. And it's different than phase 1 and phase 2, where the only reason you can do that is just to have lead nurture, just to give you guys some sales stuff, just to give you guys some fodder and just test some hooks. Those are the 5 phases. If you're a small business owner, that costs time and that costs money. So what do you do? Because I actually have had this conversation with probably half of our portfolio companies in the last 3 months. What is the role of organic marketing play in the business from a concept of acquiring customers? We do this stuff, right? We do this to acquire customers. If you have other ways of getting customers, which for most of you would be manual outbound, affiliates, or paid ads, besides referrals. And if those are the primary channels, you do not want to take your eye off the ball on that. That's what's paying the bills. That being said, the purpose or the objective of having the organic content is lead nurture, not lead generation. So what happens is someone comes in through an affiliate, someone comes in through a paid ad, someone comes in through manual outbound because you had an SDR call them or they got a cold email. What do? They look at your social profile, they look at your website and they say, is this person legit? The only litmus test you have to pass there is that you've posted something recently that's not shit. That's really it. They'll probably consume 2, 3, 4 pieces of content and say, this guy or this gal knows what they're talking about. This is recent enough that I know that they're still in business. This is a legitimate business.
So another thing to even add on top of that, like if you even post, let's say for example, batch content on Sunday, and then you just post consistently throughout the week from Sunday to Sunday. So you record it all on Sunday, and then you have posts consistently coming out day to day until the next Sunday. If you even don't post for a week or maybe two after that, or you post sporadically, you, like, compared to most business owners who don't even crack open their Instagram, just the fact that you have a recent post within the last 2 weeks already makes you look more legit than like 99% of people on IG who don't even know how to use, their IG correctly. Like, your IG is basically like your digital office. It's your digital lobby. It's your digital, your IG is basically like your digital office, right? So
that's all we're trying to accomplish here. And if you do start to have content that starts performing better than others, that gives you two things. One is it gives the sales guys content that they can proactively feed to the prospects. And so what you should build is a master Excel sheet of your best content of all time, because there is some content that you've made knowingly or unknowingly that convinces more people to buy from you. On that content sheet, you'll have what are the FAQs, what are the types of questions that people ask on sales calls, which gives you great fodder for the types of content that you'll make in the future. And again, you do it for one, for the sales team, and two, for marketing. You do it for the sales team because as soon as they have that question, they can send that as a reply between call one and call two to close a prospect. Or if they have the question that they found out before the call, they can send it to them beforehand, increase the likelihood they close. But that's the first tip.
dude, I can't take notes fast enough. He just keeps dropping gold and gold and gold and gold and gold. I'm trying to catch up.
Tangential benefit besides nurture that making this content helps you with. The second one is that it gives you an idea of what you can start leading with on your paid side. They're disproportionately saving it, disproportionately sharing it. When you run paid ads, you can look at your organic content and be like, dude, I don't know what it is, people went nuts for this. If for some reason this headline or this hook worked well, you weave it into every one of your cold emails and you can split test it and say, wow, this beat our control. And so think of the content that you're making as just low risk ways of testing hooks and headlines to get people to buy from you. Phase one and phase two, if you're in one of those camps, you don't need to do anything else. That's it. That's all you gotta do. If you wanna know what it looks like to actually use content marketing as a way to generate leads. Phase three, which is you're posting once a week or on some cadence on all platforms. The purpose of phase three is learning what packaging looks like on each of the platforms. If you've ever seen that meme that had like Tinder, LinkedIn, Facebook, and like Instagram, platforms are all a little bit different. Same person, just packaged a little differently. This tweet here, then getting put into a TikTok, then also getting put into a YouTube short, and then also getting put into a reel. It's the same concept, the same subject matter, but we package it a little bit differently. Phase four is you then say, great, I feel like we finally get each of these platforms. And this fucking takes time. It takes probably 6 months, and this is if you have means to pay for this stuff. And I'll get into the cost in a second. Maxing out the platforms, which is phase four. Number 5 is actively creating. So candidly, right now, I'm barely scratching phase 5. We're actually just dialing on phase 4, which is maximizing across all platforms. We're not really there yet. We're maxed out on probably half the platforms. At Mosey Nation, that's what we're doing, right? With 3, 4, 5, you're actually making good enough content that the platforms are serving it to new audiences because they are able to grow the amount of time people spend on the platform because your stuff is good. They pay you in impressions for providing value to their audience. More followers, more likes, all that stuff. You still have to have a way to convert those people into customers. And so the way to do that is just having call to actions. For example, if you're a business doing $3 million or more and you're an internet business, go to acquisition.com. You can fill out the stuff for minority investment. That's what we do. Put that into your content, and then the rest of your time, you're just providing value. You don't need to get.
So CTAs can make you look a little salesy. Right. But there's I guess you want to say like a rhythm or like a cycle to it. So if every video is like video, and by the way, comment X for Y or whatever, then you kind of look a little salesy. But ironically, if you don't put the CTA in and your content is compelling enough, they're just going to go on your bio, whether it's Instagram or TikTok, to see what you're about anyway. Drop the pen. But yeah, I still think this dude just keeps dropping bombs on bombs on bombs. Let's keep going.
You don't need to get fancy with it. You don't want to be one of those guys who's just pitching all the time. A lot of people oversell the small amount of demand they have so they can never grow the audience. The more you give, the more you grow. The more you take, the more you shrink. And when you do it that way, you never go hungry because you always.
I'm writing that one down. So the more you give, the more you grow. The more you take, the more you shrink.
I'm taking that.
Always have more people knocking on your door than you have seating in your house. From a cost perspective, there's time cost, there's long-term cost, and there's money cost. If you start doing content as your way of getting customers, expect it to take a long time. I started making content for acquisition.com about 18 months before we really started seeing any kind of deal flow or growth across the platforms. If you think about this as a long-term play, I still believe that fame is the most efficient business model. All right, it's one of the best ways to arbitrage making money, but it takes time and no one's willing to wait, which then gives.
And that's a big thing. He's going to get into it. Nobody's willing to wait. You know, it's a hockey stick. You keep going, posting nothing, a little bit of something, and then it just goes up like that. You know, so Metabox, we literally had 0 followers. I posted the exact same video because I already knew in my mind that the concept was goated, right? So I just knew, I was like, okay, it's just going to take time. It's like, it all starts like this, and then it's like that. It just takes patience, but nobody has that patience. Everyone wants 1 million followers tomorrow, or they don't even want to start. They think that people are afraid. They're afraid of being judged by people, their friends, their family. First of all, make a dummy account, block everybody in your life that you know. And second of all, if you're not getting views, then nobody's seeing you fail. It's that simple. Every content creator you admire started at 0. They started exactly where you are. Nobody's just handed a few 100,000 followers on any social media platform. We all start from 0. Hormozi started from 0. Everybody you see on social media who's doing anything started from 0 and had a family and friends who, you know, beat them down all along the way till they hit that hockey stick. So you just got to put up with it, but you will get not even famous, but enough to where you can collect customers or users or whatever. It just, you have to get through this part. Nobody wants to travel like this long path where it's just nothing, and then you get a small hit, and then you go up. And the way to get up here faster is if you get your highest performing video in a week. Let's say throughout the week you had 10 videos, they all did 50 views, but then one video did 290 views. You study what worked in that video, and then you take what you learned in that video and apply it to week 2's content schedule. That's all that it is. So
fame is the most efficient business model. All right, it's one of the best ways to arbitrage making money, but it takes time and no one's willing to wait, which then gives you a competitive advantage, because patience is one of the ultimate advantages, is that you're just willing to do things for an unreasonably long period of time without thinking you're smarter than you really are. A quote from Neil Strauss. Even at phase 3, it's going to be pretty much beyond your capacity to actually create, capture, edit, and distribute across all platforms. You're not going to be able to do it on your own. And so you need some degree of leverage. That leverage is going to come in the form of labor. You're going to have to pay people to help you out. In the beginning, the more costly way of doing it, but faster, is to have vendors. So to have people who are specialists on each of these platforms, because what they're going to do is get you up to speed 5 times faster. They're going to already know all the mistakes that people normally make. Now, one thing they have to look out for vendors, and this is especially important, for me, is that most vendors are data driven. And what I mean by that is they get obsessed with clicks and views and impressions and subscribers. That's good to a degree. It's okay to be satisfied with a smaller audience that's just the type of person that you're actually looking to attract. It's hard to make this shift, and it's really hard to ram it down their throats, because most clients that pay them only care about those things because they don't know what else to measure. Just because it's easy to quantify doesn't mean it's important.
Yeah, just because it's easy to quantify doesn't mean it's important. So, I was doing this for the longest time when I was posting individually on my TikTok, when StrikeAid was just starting up on Instagram, etc. It's just, I thought that 1 million views, 2 million, 5 million meant success, and it doesn't. Now, the metric that is important, that's a little harder to measure, is conversions. Like, okay, this video got, say, for example, 12 million views, no sales. But at the same time, we weren't selling anything yet. We're just bringing brand awareness, right? But it's hard to measure, clicks. Like, how many times did someone click a handle, a username that you left in a comment to go to the brand that you wore in the video? We can't really measure that. You can, in a way, measure sales. You can use paid ads to, sort of do that. But, views, likes, not as important. Now, what I do think is important that the standard vendor doesn't really, really measure is, not that they don't measure, but they know, but, ratios like comments to saves, comments to shares. You could do comments to views too, but really what we focused on is just maximizing engagement, but also rewatchability. Like, the most important thing is, okay, when they watch this video, is there any compelling reason for them to ever watch it again in their life? And that's where the gamification part, making our videos into games, really just took StrikeAid from here to here, because we're not the only ones posting boxing content, but we are very popular in the boxing niche, and we have a couple more niches that we're gonna maybe get to. But yeah, just like you said, just because it's easy to quantify doesn't mean it's important. But there are quantifiable metrics, ratios, not 100 likes, 100 comments, 100 views, but the comments to shares, shares to saves, comments and shares to watch time, et cetera, and get deep into that do matter more than just what you're seeing on your Instagram analytics screen. So yeah, I mean, he's dropping bomb after bomb. I couldn't write everything down in one take if I wanted to.
Important. The values that you have, the messages that you want to get out there, who you're trying to reach will be more important than the quantitative metrics. Are those good litmus tests in terms of if nothing you ever have hits? Yeah, you should probably pay attention to that. But if only one specific type of thing hits and it's not core to who you are, you got to be able to resist that temptation, because otherwise you're going to build this audience doing stuff you don't want to do, attracting people you don't want to be with. For us,
100%. So, before you even start posting, it's like, what is your ideal audience? Like, and again, it can be, if it is like, say for example, if you want to appeal to younger kids, like Strike 8 is trying to do, like we're trying to appeal to younger kids because we're making video games, we're gamifying things like, boxing, MMA, self-defense. So it's supposed to be more mass, like broad, applicable, then yeah. But if you're starting on social media and you're like, I want to make money on social media, understand that like you only needed to get to, let's say, 500 subscribers on a YouTube channel talking about adult stuff, where your audience is grown adults with money willing to spend to get you making money. But there are people who have millions of followers or millions of subs on YouTube who are making chump change. Like they're making barely any more than like a standard software engineer, or barely any more than like a regular lawyer, like be 100K, 200K a year. Now they're making it on their own dime, on their own time, right? Which is great, but they're not rich like you would think they are, because they have 1 million or 5 million subs. But before you start posting content, it's just understand your audience. But your audience should be, in my opinion, grown adults with money to spend in countries that they have disposable income that they can spend on you and whatever you are offering. And if you're not offering anything, again, the YouTube partner program, like if you're talking about bigger, like higher ticket niche stuff, credit, real estate, finance, tech, AI, you're going to get paid more by YouTube than if you're talking about, unfortunately, video games and, pop culture and pop news and et cetera, et cetera. So, just not pick your poison, but kind of pick your lane and then just ride it. But just know that, yeah, there's a possibility that you can get 1 million subs and still be making 4, 5, 6K a month. And that journey to 1 million subs, it takes a while. But you can you can choose not to be famous, but like that hockey stick I was saying, like you don't even have to get up there. You can still make money down here before you even start to get up there by picking a higher ticket niche. Again, credit, real estate, finance, tech in general, AI is a newer one, or a combination of those two, like a fusion of a couple of those. So yeah, continuing on.
For us to put out the stuff that we put out right now across all platforms, for Layla and I, costs about $70,000 a month. That's to put out rough.
I mean, he's got to be making 10 times, 20 times more times than that, but whew, it's a yearly salary per month that he's spending just to make more. Whew, he's dedicated, man.
About roughly 160 pieces of content a week. You're like,
oh my God. This dude is a monster, bro. This dude is a monster. 160 pieces of content every week. And this was like made 3 years ago. God, 160. Dang, man.
You're like, oh my God. I'm like, I know, it's a lot. That's because we're trying to promote. We're using this instead of using paid ads. So if I were to just pay for the impressions, it would cost me about $2 million a month to get the impressions that right now cost me about $70,000 a month. I have a lot of cost savings doing it organically. The lever on that though is how good you are. And that's tough. And it probably sounds weird for me to even say this. So take it the way that you probably or hopefully know that I mean it. Most people talk about stuff that they don't have the right to talk about. Just because you call yourself an expert doesn't make it true. And so the question is, how narrowly can I define the problem that I solve so that in that tiny world, in that pond, I am king? You might not be the best business person in the world, I'm not. But the question is, of all the sources of information that are both entertaining and educational, is the stuff that you put out there good enough that people are like, I will pay attention to this person? Because if you've ever struggled to give away your services for free, it's because the biggest cost isn't your price. If people aren't willing to pay for it with their attention, then it has other costs, which is it's not worth their attention. Why should this person listen to me, and why is this worth their time? If you can answer those questions in the content that you're making in a tangible way that their life is gonna get better as a result, they'll come back and they'll tell their friends. I'm not Andy Frisella, I'm not Gary Vee, I'm not Ed Milet, I'm not all closing in on $1 billion plus, I'm not Grant Cardone. Well, don't try and compete with them. But if you're like, hey, I'm the fastest toilet fixer in this side of Tuscaloosa, you might only be competing against 3 guys. If you have evidence, you are beyond reproach. If someone looks at you and says like, hey man, your content's crap, you can be like, this is how you fix toilets. I'll try and be more entertaining next time, but this is how you fix them. And you have evidence that you fixed 500 toilets this way. First, you're fixing toilets, and then you're talking about how you can expand a plumbing business, and then you're talking about how you can expand a local business, and then you're talking about marketing on whatever specific method you use to grow your thing, and then you're talking about expanding an enterprise, and then lo and behold, you're a business expert. But it takes time.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, dropping bombs, but again, you don't have to be a world-class like a lot of people who are proficient and competent, they don't realize how competent they are compared to the average person. So, if you've been a lawyer for, 5 years, you kind of forget or don't realize the gap between your understanding of whatever type of law you're in, whether it be corporate or, what is it, family court or something. You don't realize the gap in your level of understanding from you to the average person. So you don't think you're hot shit because you might be comparing yourself, like say if you're an up-and-coming divorce lawyer, you're comparing yourself to James Sexton, right? And you're seeing this gap, but you forget that like, yo, there's all like you've climbed a very high mountain. You've completed law school. You've I don't know, maybe you started your own firm or you've got hired by one or whatever. So you don't realize how competent you are compared to the average person, and that the average person would pay a lot more money for your time if you just displayed that competency. It's just that since you compare yourself to like the apex, like if you're doing business, you compare yourself to Alex Hormozi, you think you're not shit, but that's not really the case. Like you're still good and competent. You're competent. If you have a job and you have a career, you're competent, right? But stop comparing yourself to the people. It's very granular. It's not binary. It's not like I suck or I'm good. It's just like there's a 10 levels and I'm at level 3.1, but the whole world, the general population is at level 0.1, right? So that's why the content doesn't have to be ever so great. Good content can almost be a mask for incompetence. It's like, well, this guy has such good video editing and cutting skills, he must know what he's talking about. It's like, no, he's just good at editing and cutting video and using ChatGPT to create his prompts, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, dude, this man is dropping gold. This man is dropping gold. Like, I don't even want to stop or interrupt his flow, but yeah, this man is dropping gold. But, in general, there are a lot more people who are, plumbers, truck drivers, technicians, and even to a lower degree, people who have graduated from top level universities. They could sell a course on how they got into a Harvard, a Stanford, a Yale, etc., and sell that to parents who are ambitious and want more for their children. This probably would have been a better idea a few years ago before the advent of AI, especially considering how fast it's getting good. But you know what I mean? It's just like a Harvard graduate still has a long path to follow in life, but he doesn't realize how ahead he is of a hopeful 6th grader who maybe wants to go to Harvard one day, and he could sell a course on that to the kid's parents. Like, this is everything I did to get myself in that position. I never even thought about that. So yeah, finish up this video and then yeah.
If you're a small business owner, you can do the first 2 phases. Just post about stuff, make sure it's valuable, just to make sure that you are a legitimate looking business that looks like its doors say open on it. That's all we're trying to accomplish and help the sales guys out.
And again, your Instagram is your digital store, your digital doors. So post once a week, if not 2 or if not 3. Get your nephew or your cousin or whatever just to make, it's not that hard. It's only going to get easier from the date of this post with more AI video editing software coming out that you don't even have to do. Just hire your younger cousin or nephew or son or daughter to do it. So, you know.
Content marketing, your actual lead generation machine, then you need to invest in it the same way you invest in it for paid marketing. You're gonna probably have to have vendors. You're probably, over time, as you learn from your vendors, you're gonna bring employees in-house and you're gonna teach it to them. And then you start scaling the volume up internally. And then phase 5, you go max out mode, right? You start cranking out on everything and then you start creating stuff specifically. But when you're doing that at that phase, you probably don't need to worry about this video.
God damn. Just 11 minutes and 26 seconds of straight gas. That's crazy, bro. I've never really sat down and like listened to Alex Hormozi's content start to finish, but it's just like bombs and bombs and bombs and gold and gold and gold. That's crazy. Whew. I couldn't write fast enough to get it all down, but yeah, okay. I'm going to be doing more reaction videos to more of Alex Hormozi's content, but yeah, overall, sick. Don't really have much else to say. So yeah, sick and react to more content. Catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.